JK is finally coming out of the military today, and people are freaking out about that. We have some crazy things that have happened at the camp, apparently, and then we have people talking about Jin going solo, and then we have to talk about the stock of the label. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Disci, let's get into it. People were talking about a recent moment in which apparently the stock has gone up severely after the boys had a comeback from the military. There's a screenshot showing the stock going up a little bit at a time, and then during the deployment day it went a little bit more up. So nothing too dramatic, but it is going up. This of course makes a lot of sense, and then a lot of people were believed to have put a lot more money as we are starting to see the rest of the boys come back, and so they believe the stock is going to go up even more. And especially when the comeback happens, it will soar even more. I want to make it perfectly clear that I am not a financial expert or a financial analyst, so I have no idea if this is actually true or if this is actually going to happen. So do not invest or put money into the stock market based on this and this video, or based on what I'm saying right now. This is just what other people are doing, not what I personally believe will happen. You can never predict the stock market. It can go up and down. However, obviously when things are happening and things are moving, the stock market can move as well, and it's been seen that way in the past before. That doesn't mean that it will go up a lot. That doesn't mean that 100% of the time it will go up, but of course we are starting to see more and more people put in their money just right before the members all come back. What this means is the boys will probably have a bigger budget, and I'm wondering how many of these people who are putting in the money to the stock market are people who are big fans of BTS, or are simply people who just think that this is a good investment. They think that BTS will capture the magic that they had during the pandemic and pre-pandemic, and they're hoping to capitalize on that right now and put money in while the stock is a little bit lower. It was interesting because a lot of financial analyst websites and things like that were reporting on the deployment date, and we're also reporting on when the comeback would be. And all of this is for the sake of investors knowing what to do. These websites have gotten things wrong before, and it causes huge issues for the company when those things happen. So if the news sites incorrectly report a comeback date or incorrectly report a scandal, then a lot of people will start to pull the money from the stock, and it can cause the company's stock to tank. And of course, I just want to make it clear that a financial news site has no reason to report on petty scandals like dating and that sort of stuff if it wasn't for the sake of that affecting the company's stock. So that's why they're reporting on it, and that's why it's so important and it's so dire to the company when those things get reported on a financial website, because stock is very much based on perception and less on the reality of things. So when you look at selling products at a company, you're not perceiving the amount of products being sold. It's a solid number that is being reported. However, the stock of a company is highly based on what the public believes the company is doing. And if the public believes the company is doing well, then they will pour their money into the company, even if the company is not doing well. So perception is everything. PR plays a bigger role when a company is public than when they're a private one. However, these things currently that are being reported are just the comeback, which a lot of people seem to be really excited about. And I can imagine people getting more and more excited as Jin is starting to do a lot more of his solo activities and promotion, which can only mean great things. He recently sat down with BuzzFeed and actually played the puppy game. This was a Q&A thing that the BTS members had done before too as a whole, and they're just playing with puppies while answering a bunch of questions. For this video, Jin was asked who he would fangirl over the most. So BuzzFeed asked Jin about the relationship that he has with Coldplay, and then mentions, is there anyone else that you would feel similarly to? Jin wanted to mention that he feels similar to Bruno Mars, and he absolutely loves Bruno's songs, and even used one of his songs as one of his debut songs. Bruno is a great artist, and it's so beautiful to hear icons supporting icons. Jin mentioned that one of his favorite songs that he enjoys of Bruno recently is APT with Rosé. And if you're unfamiliar or new to the community, this song obviously took the internet by storm and the world, and people were so excited to hear this song as well as see a new side of Bruno. But Jin mentioned something that was really interesting, which was the fact that he wanted to collaborate with Bruno and make a song kind of like APT. This had very mixed reaction. I think a lot of people were extremely excited that Jin was planning something like this, but I think a lot of people were a little bit concerned over what this would mean if he were to do something like this. Would this be a solo project that he would do outside of BTS, or would this simply imply that the members would be going solo much longer than than they did before, and they would have the opportunity to collaborate with artists. Now, you can put anything in a contract in the entertainment industry. You can say that you need to do something and it needs to be done a certain way and blah, blah, blah. So for example, if Bruno says, well, I'm only going to collaborate with someone who really pushes the song that I'm in and tours with it and does promotion with it, performs with it and that sort of stuff, then Jin would not be able to do that unless he were to go solo for a little while. I'm not saying for sure that Rose even had that contract with Bruno, but I'm saying that that is totally a possibility, and I can see the concern that people might have with this situation. However, wanting to collaborate with someone simply does not mean that any of the members might go solo and not come back as a group. Collaborations can mean having a song written for them. A collaboration could just mean having that one song that maybe gets thrown into the rotation as BTS is performing. Many times artists, especially BTS, will sing their solo stuff during the BTS concert, so that is totally a possibility as well. But let's not forget that groups can take time off, and the boys likely would want time off so they don't burn themselves out. And in those periods in which they might have time off, any of the members can choose to fill that time with whatever work they want to do. Now that I see that Jin has collaborated with Tom Cruise, I even more believe that a partnership with Bruno is totally possible. But we have other things to address as well, which is the fact that JK has recently been spotted outside the military or attempting to leave the military as his time is also up. It was interesting because a lot of people did end up showing up at the military, at least from the videos that I had seen. It seemed like there was at the very least a small group of people there. Who knows how many people were actually there? I hadn't seen any videos from afar to really see if there was a crowd or not. But I will say the less people that were there, the worse the situation that I'm about to address could actually have been. So someone was seen holding a sign outside of the camp waiting for JK to see it, reading something about JK needing to do a solo tour. This is a very interesting thing to write on a sign and present to someone that you know has no choice but to see it because they're coming out of the military. They're looking at the crowd, they're looking at all of the people that are waiting for them, and they might even come up to the crowd and chat. To present a sign that essentially says, "Leave your band members," is wild to me. If JK wanted to do a solo tour, he has every ability to go ahead and do that, and he would have done that a long time before a suggestion would have needed to be made. But even if JK wanted to go solo and wanted to do that tomorrow, he definitely can't do that, as I'm sure once all the boys come back from the military, everyone is expected to start working on the reunion and start trying to dance, learn choreography, write music, and all of that stuff. The things that they would want to do to have an album. And he is contractually obligated to do that. So this is not something that he just feels like he's obligated to do, like he legally has to do, or he'll get sued, or he could not have a solo career, let alone a career in general. If contractually it says that you need to do something and you simply just fully ignore that and just do whatever you want, then yeah, you can get fully sued for something like that. So to see a group of people or crowd of people being this selfish or requesting something like this is wild to me. It's wildly selfish, it's wildly irresponsible, and it's wildly impossible for the artist to do. So reading this is not only going to upset the artist, but they're going to be like, oh shoot, it looks like people want this from me, but I can't actually do it. And that builds a level of frustration deep within the idol. But also many people are worried about what the general reaction is going to be if JK comes out and sees that. Now he likely would just ignore that, and he probably wouldn't give that person who wrote that any attention. I actually highly doubt he would have interacted much with the people that were there waiting outside the military anyway, as he maybe wouldn't want to encourage them to do this, as the label did specify that this was not an official activity and they did not want people to show up at the camp. And it was going to be a safety hazard for people to be there and for someone to completely ignore a safety hazard that is not only dangerous but disrespectful. How can you say that you love someone, you care for someone, when you don't want them to be safe? Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos, linked down below. Thank you to this lovely comment right here. Love you, bye.